You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the July 17th meeting for the Long Beach Fire Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Okay, ready to roll. So I think you guys all know each other, right? Cindy, do you know Tom? Tom? Oh, absolutely. Okay. And I think everybody else knows each other. We'll buzz through the agenda relatively quickly. We have not gotten a revised delivery date that we can count on for the truck that's already on order. That's E1 replacement update, number A there under 1. And essentially, they're just still telling us fall. I don't have a lot of high confidence in what the dates that we've been given so far. I'm assuming it'll show up sometime in the mid to late fall. The national press, apparently the private equity guys bought up all the fire truck manufacturers in the country and consolidated them. So it's gotten to be a real monopolistic environment for fire truck purchases. So the reason I bring that up is the next item is the E2 replacement. At one point, we thought we'd wait till 27 to order that, assuming that we'd have a 2-year delivery time. That truck, the E2 truck, will need replacing by 29 based on the NFPA regulations. We've already had, some maintenance issues over time. Tom's going to talk about a couple of those in a little bit. But basically, I think we ought to think about ordering that thing in 26 now instead of 27.
Here comes Brian.
We plan on going to, when I say we, the fire department is planning on, hi, Brian. You can grab a microphone over there if you want, because you're an official member of this fine, august body. We plan to go to the fire, their annual convention is down in Indianapolis in April. We've gone over the years, and then I think we're going to go again so that we can see if there's anything new and great before we order the truck in 26. So I'd anticipate maybe June or something, we should think about trying to place the order. Again, there's no cash outlay. It'll be a 3-year deal again, more than likely. Financing is just not needed yet. When I talked to Tris at the Budget and Finance, she sounded like they only need like 30 days or something. So when we get an official date, we'll let the council know and she can start on the Megan, she can start on the
Yeah,
financing.
we got specs of the new truck over at the Public Safety Building. If anyone's interested, we're showing them at the Ice Cream Social, but the specs of the new truck are there. Been a bit of a moving target. Time we call them, we get a date.
Yeah. Again, it's just turned into it used to be there were, 50 different manufacturers. Now they're all combined into they've consolidated it all and it's getting ugly. Recent training, I'm going to let Tom take over on number 2.
Sure. We haven't met for a while, so just want to give you guys an update on some of the training we do. Just so you're aware, every Monday night, there is some form of fire or medical training going on. The exception of the third Monday of the month where we have our business meeting. We also do other special trainings in there. We've been spending a lot of time when it's summertime. We do most of our training outdoors. We spent the spring, we were in Moon Valley. So every year we do a walkthrough of the Moon Valley just to understand, in the event that there were a fire there, how would we protect the community? There was a fire there probably 30 years ago. So we did one of those walkthroughs. We also worked with the Long Beach Police Department. We train on the ATVs and the UTV, the 6-person vehicle as well. So we use those for beach emergencies as well as any emergency on the golf course. The UTV would be actually very effective in getting out to the golf course quicker than a golf cart or any of our apparatus would not get out there. We're spending a lot of time working on water focus, given the weather is so nice. You may have seen fire trucks in the neighborhood on Monday out tapping hydrants, and we were spraying water. Most of the water was being done over in Long Beach Cove into Lake Claire. But occasionally you'll see a fire truck pull up to a hydrant and just start deploying hose. We're pretending there's a fire there. And so we typically try to tell the homeowner ahead of time that we're stopping in the neighborhood. We did spend some time on 2 roads that are a challenge for us, Ridge Road and Summit Drive, so over by Stop 29. I don't know if you're familiar with those 2 roads, but they're roads, but they're also back alley access as well. Neither of those roads have a hydrant. And so we have to do a different way of supplying water to our trucks if in the event of a fire on those streets. So we were doing specific training in the event that we had a fire on Ridge Road or Summit Drive, depending on where the address was, looking at the different hydrants a block away or 2 blocks away and figuring out how we would attack those fires. So there are 2 roads in this neighborhood that do not have a hydrant. They don't have a water line running down the streets. They're actually supplied water off of different roads. I think Ridge is supplied off of Lakeshore Drive. Summit, I believe, is supplied off of, might be Roslyn. I think it's Roslyn, yeah. We also have done we went back to the Michigan City, the fire training facility over on Hitchcock Road. This is for the whole county. We go out there about 4 times a year. We were there 2 Mondays ago, practicing large water fires. So taking our deck guns and our blitz fire guns and hitting a big structure with massive amounts of water. So we try to do, again, at least 4 times a year, we go out to the training center and leverage those facilities. It's great because we can heat up a facility with live fire. We can put smoke in there and simulate, things that we could never do in this neighborhood when we're doing training. So we continue to be one of the few volunteer fire companies that takes advantage of that facility. So. And then our medical team, we did a project with the police department on a mass casualty incident, just practicing what would happen in the event of different either medical mass casualty or hazardous material type of incidents. So we're continuing to keep our training fresh, but our primary focus is to make sure that we are working on the fundamentals and just continually being repetitive on tapping hydrants, getting water on a fire, and then sprinkling in some of these more, I would say rare, but things that you see in other parts of the country that are of interest. So, like electric vehicles, we'll go do a scenario on electric vehicles and things like that. So, but right now, a lot of focus on the basics. So every Monday night, you'll see fire trucks out in the neighborhood doing something.
Brian, welcome. I know you're a new member of the Fire Commission. No, that's okay. But, I think you know Tom. Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Brian.
You and I are well acquainted, and I'm sure that you all know each other. I'm assuming, Cindy. And so just as a refresher, I mean, basically this group functions as an advisory to the council. And then, it's got representation by ordinance. Certain people have to be on it, and that's who's here tonight. I think we're missing one individual, I think, presented. But at any rate, on the back, you'll see, which I guess we're required to have on all of our meetings now. We have to have our roster. So that is the official. Oh, I guess, no, he's not. Never mind. Okay. But anyway, welcome. And, basically advisory, we try to run things by you guys, keep you informed. And then certainly the council then has 2 people that are good, well-informed when they have decisions to make relevant. We only meet, I think, once a quarter now. We used to meet monthly and we found that it was a little overkill. So we're just meeting once a quarter. Engine 2 maintenance, as I mentioned, that thing is it's getting older by the day. We got some new tires on it. We've had our annual maintenance. You're required under NFPA to test certain things. We test the pump pressures and the hose and all different animals, all different aspects of the truck. We've done that. We will have a hose test coming up in the fall. We had I guess Tom just told me we've got a leak in one of the big valves that we use for our intake, and we also have had some air leaks on the brakes. So it just continues to deteriorate. So that's all the more reason that we just want to keep you guys lit up as far as that goes, light a fire for the purchase to replace that truck. And as you may or may not know, Brian, we're replacing the first truck that is coming in, hopefully in the fall. We're going to be replacing the oldest truck, which is long past what the requirements from NFPA are. But the newest truck will be replaced when the council orders it in 26. PPE is our only big purchase that I'm aware of, unless you've got some.
Yeah, I think, when we say PPE, that's personal protective equipment. So it's basically the bunker pants, the boots, the jacket, the helmet, and all that. We're slowly replacing gear that's outdated for some of our members. We're trying to do, a handful, I say less than 5 a year. A full outfit of personal protective equipment is in the $3,000 to $4,000 range per person. Pretty expensive. And so, but it lasts a long time. But our gear Many of our members have gear that's 15 to 20 years old now and needs to be replaced. So we're slowly doing that. It's not one big mass change. We've looked at grants to get that and we've not been able to be successful. So we're trying to sprinkle it in when we have some money to take care of that. The other thing that we are evaluating right now is, as this new truck is going to come into service in the fall, hopefully, there are some equipment needs that we're going to have on the new truck. Primarily things like new nozzles. All the fire nozzles on that existing truck are very old, and we'd like to get them updated to what the current Engine 2 has. So we're evaluating that. We're looking at also some of the other, some of our hose requirements, and just to make sure that the truck is ready for action. So we're going to leverage a lot of the equipment off of the old truck. This is also an opportunity to upgrade some of it as we move along. So we don't have any estimates on what that's going to be. We're just starting to take a look at that right now.
Relative to planned purchases, I just think I'll mention that we were at the Budget and Finance meeting. They do their annual canvas of departments to see what potential, what the budget's going to look like for next year. We're not going to ask for anything more than what is in our contract, which is a 3% jump. It's kind of on autopilot, the contract, and we're happy with it. So to make you guys aware of that. The public safety building, that doesn't necessarily belong in this meeting, but we just let you know we're getting close to getting a new vent fan or really a redundant additional vent fan in the gear storage area. And then we had our annual HVAC maintenance, which basically Mark, in his capacity as a town administrator, takes care of all that stuff. Basically, we had a little issue with the air conditioner stopped working about 2 weeks back. We found out the filters were clogged up with cottonwood and a lot of other stuff. So he had it on a maintenance schedule, but we found out we have, as soon as the cottonwoods come, we have to do it again. So he's got a handle on that. I think he said it was $900 a year or something to maintain that unit, and that's reasonable dollars. I think. Public outreach, Tom, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things on public outreach. So as you may be aware, we've begun to conduct quarterly CPR classes for the community. They've been fairly well attended. So far, the first few have been more, I'd say, friends and family. But we continue to advertise those on our social media channels. During the Ice Cream Social, we also had a sign-up sheet, and we're trying to encourage anybody who would like to participate in that. Our next class is scheduled, I believe, for August 16th. It would be a Saturday morning. We typically start at 9 a.m. And our goal is to get people through the training and certified within about a 2-hour period of time. We have a number of members that are, we're all CPR certified. We have some instructors as well that run the course. And so we try to make it as streamlined as possible. And but it's gotten, we've gotten a lot of people have asked us in the past, about getting CPR classes. And so we're starting to execute on that. We've got a number of the CPR dummies and things that we're able to use that we now own as a department. We leveraged a lot of grant money from LaPorte County, some of the trainer devices for defibrillators and such. So we've been participating in the town newsletter articles now, so we're part of the public safety newsletter. We also continue to have a presence on social media. So we do have a Facebook page that pretty much every week there's usually an update on training, usually pictures of what we're doing. If there's any big event or any big safety announcement, we'll try to put something out on our Facebook page. I don't know the number of people that we have that actually follow us, but it's a good way to get out to the community. So we're on Facebook today. Oh, there's also public outreach, just to give you a quick update on our Ice Cream Social. It was, I'd say, extremely successful. This is the second year that we've run the Ice Cream Social in the new public safety building. So having the ability to close St. Lawrence Avenue and have the parking lots open, it spreads the crowd out quite significantly, which is great. This year, we scooped the most ice cream we ever have. We did 150 gallons of ice cream, and we ran out. This is the first year in 20 years that we've done this, that we've actually run out of ice cream. It could be that the 4th of July was on a Friday, and this was the beginning of a weekend. But we had, long lines going from 6 o'clock until about 8:45, which was pretty amazing. We probably 50 to 60 pounds of popcorn as well, which that serves about 500 people, according to my accountant friend, Blake. But so all in all, it was a very successful community event for us. It's really it's not a fundraiser for us. It's actually just a community outreach. We actually buy all the ice cream, all the fixings, and the donations in the booth basically go to cover our costs. So it's been very successful for 20 years now, and we hope to continue it. So they do cover our costs, so more or less. It's
Close.
it's close. I mean, it's certainly not. It's not a fundraiser for us. And yeah,
Years after 9/11, it was very well supplied or very
Yeah.
well financed. Some years.
yeah. This year we covered our costs, but we ran out of ice cream, which was a first for us. So, but it's great to see that it's become a tradition for a lot of people in this community now, that they all tend to go to the ice cream social as part of their weekend. And so we'll continue to do that. The last thing that I'll add on here is just call reports. I know during the town council meeting, Dave probably walked through that. I just want to highlight, I don't know if Brian, you're aware, but we track all of our calls. And as of the end of June, we're running 28% higher than a year ago. And a year ago, we ran at an all-time high for calls, both fire and medical. So we've run 111 calls versus 84 a year ago. We ran 47 fire calls versus 38, which is a 23% increase year over year. On the medical side, we ran 64 medical calls so far versus 46 a year ago, which is a 39% increase. So we're getting, we're almost getting a page a day, right now, especially in the summer. The month of June, we had 36 calls registered on our thing. So that's the most we've done in a month. Now, a number of these have been false alarm calls. We've been dealing with an issue of false alarms up in Dunlin Beach. And we are not the fire department that's first on call for Dunlin Beach, but we are the backup for structure fire calls in Dunlin Beach. And the Dunlin Beach Inn has had some significant issues with their fire alarms, as well as their burglar alarms. Mark is very well aware of it. We've had a number of discussions with the owners to basically, get it fixed. And I think Mark is also looking at the ordinance that the town has for charging some of these facilities that you constantly get false alarms at. It's besides being, yes, it can be a nuisance, but it's a safety hazard because you eventually get lackadaisical. It's just human nature when you constantly get a false alarm at the same place. A year ago, there was a fire at the Dunlin Beach Inn. And so, we've had probably a dozen calls at the Dunlin Beach Inn over the last 2 months. And so we're trying to, right now, knock on wood, it's been quiet. So hopefully our reach to them has been successful. The other thing, our response time for fire calls is 4.22 minutes, and our response time for medical calls is 4.25. That means having someone on the scene from the time that a page has gone out. So any questions on that?
I really don't have anything else. If there's any questions, the only other thing I would remind you guys, anybody that you talk to, address numbers on the house is really critical. And then key holders, we've got so many people that live out of town. If we don't have a key holder and there's a fire, an awful lot of the people that live out of town have alarms. So when we get a fire call to a house and we don't have a key holder, we have to get in. So we have to break a window or do something, which we don't want to do, but you can't just walk away from a home that has a alarm going on.
Do you guys act as key holders?
We have not done that in the past. I think the police department may have some keys.
We leverage the police department for that. I'd rather they be in charge of holding anybody's keys. We would work very closely with them. Police department's been very good about showing up on for us, and if they're not there, we'll call them immediately. Up with the key holder. They typically will go down the water board, to look at the water addresses. And
we've had some frequent flyers, like a medical, a person that has, frequent medical calls, and they'll have the neighbor has a key or it's under the mat or whatever, you know. You can leave instructions with 911, the 911 center, or an individual can, or with our police department for any of those eventualities. So that if you guys just, you know, in your passing, because you're part of our crowd now, if you can just kind of make people aware of kinds of things whenever you think about it, it helps us a lot. That's all I've got.
Well, I've got.
Medical call.
We've got a great relationship with the police department in under the current administration is much improved. Not to say that we didn't in the past, but it's much improved now. They will come if they're not busy. You might notice sometimes they get busy with police business somewhere and they're not able to come. We've had things like, we call them, well, like suicide calls or, you know, a irate drunk or something like that. They'll come right away. In fact, a lot of times other police agencies will show up on those
We will
calls
not
'cause they
go
want-
on to those scenes until they've cleared the scene. Yeah, if it's something of that serious nature, the police are going to be there first and call us in when.
So sometimes on our big scenes, like we've had the police pull their squad up with their dash cam and record the whole thing, which is really helpful for training later on. But yeah, so it's a great relationship. They try to be here most of our calls. In fact, a couple of the police personnel are emergency medical trained. So we're really lucky in this town to have the group we have. And we cooperate real well and they do show up. I don't want to get too much into the history because there's things that probably don't need to be discussed, but we're actually on their same radios. We can talk to them on our radios, which is really sweet. That was not always the case in our town.
First time we've ever been able to do that this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. So great relationship and it's working real well. There's a lot of synergy back and forth. We'll get a lost person on the beach or something like that. We work together. When in first responder, in the world of first responders, what we call incident command is kind of crucial. So you really need, you know, one or two individuals at a position so that all the information gets exchanged properly and you're not spinning your wheels, you're not wasting your time, particularly if it's a time sensitive thing like a lost person or a little kid on the beach or whatever, or a drowning or whatever. So we've tried to work together. We actually trained together. When Tom mentioned that we trained on that mass casualty incident, some of the police officers were there with us. So it's just been a breath of fresh air this last couple.
We've done Lake Michigan training with police department as well. We do get calls. We had one about a month ago for possible drowning. Typically boats that have capsized, someone on the beach calls, but it's really bringing the police and fire together to organize, you know, the response. A lot of that is calling Coast Guard, calling Department of Natural Resources, making sure all the incoming units know where they're going. And, you know, you have one command post and very, very close.
Well, the Coast Guard is a bit of a sticky wicket. It's they are not staffing that building like they have in the past. So there are times, and I'm not exactly sure what it is anymore because we've heard so many variations on the theme, but our understanding is it's not 24/7 anymore down there. So depending on the day, we may be waiting for a Coast Guard response from Muskegon or Chicago or
Right.
Portage or whatever. So it's different than it always has been. We've always had somebody down there we could count on all the time, all year long. That's not.
We had an incident last year where we were on the phone with St. Joe, Michigan. It was a springtime issue. Boat was having trouble. Coast Guard was not in Michigan City. And we ended up working with St. Joe, Michigan, talking to them, giving them coordinates, and eventually we didn't need them, but that was the closest Coast Guard.
We have a police boat. I know I think they're working on the engine. It's probably undersized for we anticipate because of this new policy on the Coast Guard that we're going to probably be doing more lakefront response than we have in the past, depending on what goes on. And we may not have the backup that we've always counted on before. So Mark, I think, has been working on getting a grant. This is probably news for you more than you guys, because I think you've heard this before. He's trying to work on a grant to get maybe a bigger, better fireboat. We're blessed because one of our fire personnel is actually a former Coast Guard. And he's, you know, all about it, really knows what he's doing. So we've always had a presence with the boat, but I think we probably need to look at it. We're one of the longest shorelines in the state.
And we also collaborate with Michigan City Fire Department because they have a dive team And so if we ever had a drowning, say, in one of these lakes nearby, we immediately will get a call to the Michigan City Dive Team, as well as Lake Michigan. We also have access to the Michigan City Lifeguard Patrol as well. There's issues on the beach. So it's going back to the incident command thing, it's a pretty well-oiled machine of knowing where your resources are. And just, once you get them all there, though, having, the right hand and left hand actually clapping hands. So.
Long-winded answer. That's all I've got, unless you guys have something else. All right. Thank you all for coming.
Can I just ask?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know averages, but we're pretty pleased with the way those response times are. Because you think about it, John could be out cutting his lawn, and in 4.2 minutes, John could be, at your house knocking on the door. And that's the benefit we have in this community, is that it's not a large community, and we're able to get there relatively quickly, or someone will be able to, because we're spread throughout the community. We continue to monitor those times, and we try to, we're trying to get better. You can always be better, but for your benefit, Brian, having the new public safety building has created a new sense of discipline for us, because instead of arriving to a scene in our personal vehicles now with our big hockey bag full of gear, all of our gear is stored at the fire public safety building now. We have locker rooms. So people now go down to the fire station, get their gear on, and get on a truck and typically go to the scene. We do send 1 or 2 people early on to assess the scene, but it's created actually a very good discipline for us, because we're now, as we're pulling up to the scene with the fire apparatus, we've got a little bit more organization, because we already know a handful of people that are already there with us, and we're already planning as we're driving. So it's given us a little bit more discipline.
Those times are from the time the tones go out. So that means if you call into the 911 center, hey, I've got something, then they, it takes them whatever, and then they tone us out. From that tone to arrival is what that means. Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, long to get to.
Yeah. Depending on the severity of the call, it can be even quicker. So you never know.
They tell us on the radio, when they call us, they tell us in a sense. So if it's somebody's unconscious already, or, get the severity right away. And then we actually have a neat system on our phones. 911 also kicks out a bunch of information right onto our phones. It's a first alert, it's called.
It's called Active
Active
911.
911. So it actually gives us, address. You can punch up the map, find out where you're going. Most of us don't need that, but it tells you who else is showing up if they entered their name on their way, so it's really a cool.
Yeah, the very, very important thing is everybody answers their availability. And so when I'm getting in my car, getting on my bike to come down here, I'll look at it and say, okay, 3 people are already responding. That's great. Or 15 people are unavailable. Like, that's telling me that, okay, we may be short-staffed here. We need to call another department like Michiana Shores and get mutual aid in here. That kind of, it's very helpful. You don't get that from the old pager system. You do get it from the phone, though. People are very disciplined on just saying, I'm here, I'm on my way, that kind of thing.
Whole department is on.
Yeah, when we're home,
We wear these things 24/7.
24/7, and a lot of times they go off at 2, 3 in the morning. And but yeah, whenever we're here, it's you're on call. And
When you're a new fireman, your wife calls around to the other, well, your significant other. It doesn't have to be, it could be a male or female, but he or she would call around, find out what's going on. Now it's basically she whacks you and says, shut that thing off. You just run out.
yeah, but
We've got a great group. So we're lucky our age are,
yeah, we've spread we've been pretty good on recruiting and training, but training is an ongoing thing. And with new members, there's some pretty significant training that has to be done, and it's taking us. We're having to be a lot more thoughtful about how we do it. So there are outside agencies that,
got an application.
yeah,
Actually, for any of you.
yeah, we're always recruiting.
All righty. Thanks one and all.
We were 25 active